Hello and welcome, hopefully welcome back to Red on Air. It's my voice acting podcast where I use it to interview my wonderful friends in the industry and hear their thoughts and personal experiences. I am very, very excited. I'm your host, Mason Brown, joined today by the lovely Asia Mattu. I'm super excited today. I don't know about you, but I love interviewing my friends, which is basically all that this podcast is. And I know that you've done a whole wonderful whack of stuff. Most notably, I think people will recognize Plants vs. Zombies, and it's kind of a way that you and I met. I know that we met at a convention, and I approached you and talked to you because I heard you talking to one of the vendors about that.
Talk about serendipitous, man, because I met you, and were you in Vancouver at the time, and then you were just down for Emerald City Comic Con?
Yes, I was absolutely I just happened to be down there for Emerald City Comic Con, so it was this weird happenstance.
Oh, it was like a completely weird happenstance. I remember because you were dressed as Star-Lord, yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so like that was because Emerald City, that was my first time going to like a big convention, and I was like super excited for it.
That would have been like I think that would have been 2016.
I'm kind of leaning toward that too. Yeah, 2016, 2015. But gosh, yeah, talk about it, such like a in a fun little happenstance. Yeah. Because then I think when we got back to Vancouver and they were just like, hey, it's you.
Yeah, I think it had to be 2016 because I wasn't there with my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that she and I went in 2017. So yeah, it had to be 2016 because it was right before that. I hadn't gone to ECC at all. But yeah, I'm super glad to have you on. This is amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So we will dive right in.
Fantastic.
And like I mentioned to you, and I've mentioned in the previous podcast, it'll be the same 4 questions for every podcast, and then the last question will always be the sort of luck of the draw, the roulette question at the end.
Awesome.
We're going to do a random number generator. We're going to find out a weird thing or a really silly thing at the end, or maybe a deep piece of insight from you.
Ooh,
who knows?
That'll be very interesting. getting deep. But I know Christian. I listened to the first podcast that you did with Christian, and man, he had some fire answers. So
yeah, he was on it. He was super on it, and I did not give him a look at the questions beforehand. So he was just like bam, 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 knocking him out of the park. It was great. But yeah, jumping into question number 1 here.
Cool.
What made you interested in becoming a voice actor?
So this is interesting because growing up, I never sought to be an actor. There's some kids that were just born to be on stage and they just love the attention and just loved being very creative. I mean, I wasn't saying not to say that I wasn't very creative, but I just never sought out to be an actor. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a vet that worked with animals from all around the world. I thought forensic scientist at one point. It's actually interesting because when I look back into my grade 7 yearbook, and how you write looking forward to my high school year, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
One of the things that I wrote was I wanted to be a cartoonist, but I didn't know what the word for animator was. And growing up, I watched, like many kids of the 90s, a lot of Disney movies. Mm-hmm. A lot of awesome after school cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons. And I think just having that constantly just in my face all the time, it was just something that I just gravitated to. I just loved animation.
Right.
And I loved behind the scenes stuff and just learning how things were made and the whole process at Disney. And then I would like to say Aladdin was kind of the movie for me growing up, because definitely being a kid of color, it was just nice seeing a story play out where I could relate to a lot of the characters culturally as well. And then of course the great Robin Williams played the genie. Yes. And just and then just kind of seeing his process in a behind the scenes clip of all these amazing things he was able to do, stuff that wasn't even in the Disney movie because it was just either not going the direction that they needed, or there was a whole reel of things that he did that just didn't make it into the final cut. So full circle there. Yeah, I just grew up with a lot of cartoons, and then Aladdin was kind of the one that stuck out to me the most, and I think that's always kind of been with me throughout my whole thing.
That's awesome. I had a similar thing where I kind of, like you said, changed trajectory at one point, and I was going to do one thing. I wanted to move back here to do directing.
Oh, nice.
And then somewhere kind of right before stuff changed, and my brain was like, nope. It kind of narrowed down specifically to being like, this is the true aspect of entertainment that I wanted to provide. And that kind of sounds like a similar thing that happened there, where you narrowed in and you went, oh yeah, no, this is the actual thing, this performative side of it.
Well, because even when you're a kid, like you see the animation, so you know that is a job within itself. But I think when you're growing up, like you don't, at least for me, like I didn't realize like that was a job. Like I didn't realize like people were getting paid to go into this like small little sweatbox, and basically you're just playing. Right. You know, you're just letting your imagination just go wild. Like sometimes you get like a picture of the character. Sometimes you see the animatic depending on what stage of the process that they're in. But a lot of the times you're creating the world in your own head. And, it's just now understanding how that process works. It's like, it's just fascinating. And I think that's what kind of drove me toward that a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. I love that. Okay. So I guess we'll just dive into number 2.
Sure thing.
Wonderful answer you gave there.
Oh.
So what is a project or franchise that you would like to be on?
Ooh. I mean, I would say kind of echoing Christian a little bit, because I think I remember him saying like Disney was one of the ones he'd like to be on.
That or Pokemon were that Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh were the 3 I think he really, yeah.
Okay. So I would say like, I mean, I'm lucky because with Gigantosaurus, the show that I'm working on, we had our first season and everything. That was airing on Disney Junior, so that's kind of like a touch on like actually being on a Disney platform.
Nice. Congratulations, by the way.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. So I think something else Disney would be really cool. Star Wars, man, that would be sick. And a part of me, if I had to choose like a character that like already exists in the Star Wars universe, I would think Deepa Bilaba or Bilaba. I might be butchering her name. That would be a really cool character to play.
Okay, alrighty. I like that.
Are you familiar with Rebels at all?
Yes, I watched all of Rebels.
Okay, so that's Kanan's master before she got slain in Order 66. So I think just based on like a comic that I was reading that she was in, like I think that would be a really cool character to kind of see her story, prior to Order 66 and everything. So Star Wars.
No, that's an excellent deep cut, by the way. I love that.
Oh,
totally random thing about Rebels. Recently, they just announced the set of the 6 Black Series Rebel figures that are coming out, and they look amazing.
They look
I'm super excited.
So good.
Yeah,
like
they really do.
Yeah.
Even if I just got a couple of them, I think I'd be fine. I will have to add. I know that she was the person you picked voice-wise to play, but is there a favorite character you have from Rebels? Just for the Star Wars people out there.
From
Mine would
Rebels.
be Hera. Hera was my favorite.
Hera's really kick-ass. Can I say ass on this podcast?
You can say ass on this podcast.
Okay.
It's not targeted towards kids necessarily. If they listen to it, they listen to it. I can't control kids online.
That is true.
It's not targeted towards them. You hear that, YouTube? It's not targeted towards them, okay? All right?
There we go. That way you don't get demonetized or whatever for soliciting to children.
Exactly. Yeah. So who would you just for that sort of little question 1.A? Who would you Star Wars wise from Rebels? Who's your favorite?
Okay, I think I really liked Kanan.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of good characters. Like if I had to choose like within that like small family of like the Ghost Crew. Yeah, I wanted. I mean, Hera's like up there too because I think that was a really neat character to see. But I liked Kanan's character.
Yeah,
because he kind of just became Ezra's master just out of happenstance. Like he wasn't looking to kind of have that be a part of his life, but it was something that he, I think, needed for his own growth and his own journey as a person and as a Jedi.
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of would be one of my favorites. And Hera is just like, it's pretty much neck and neck with them. They're really good characters.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't like Kanan at first, but after like halfway through season 2, I was like, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
Cool. So for number 3,
Mhm.
what is something you wish you could have told your past self or someone starting out in voice acting? What's a piece of information that you think is a must know?
Hopefully my past self would not talk to a stranger. Come here, child. It's like, no, I'm good.
Right.
I need to tell you about the future. Nope.
Right.
Oh man, that's a tough one. Play more or be free more. Not saying I wasn't like stifled as a kid, but I think there were times where like I just kind of was like, you know what, like I'm not going to explore this, or like I'm good. Like I'm just gonna like keep to the back and not like say like with performing, right? Like I remember we did this show in grade 7 called like Rock On, and it was kind of like a play on all these rock throughout the ages kind of thing. It was really weird, but like instead of being a performer, I chose to do like stage work, because I just personally, all the girls were wearing like poodle skirts, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm not wearing a poodle skirt. And I'm like, I can't dance. I think every girl in my elementary school either took dance or gymnastics, and I was like the one that did mixed martial arts.
Right.
So I was like, not having that. Yeah, and so I think just being like, you know what, like just put yourself out there more. And I think I started doing that after high school, like when I was kind of taking like more improv classes and even doing a lot of the voiceover stuff. Yeah, and then at this point, I'm not saying I don't care what people think about me, but it's more just like I just kind of do my own thing, and I'm cool with that.
Right.
Like, I don't care if the eyes are on me or whatever, and if people think my career path is kind of weird. It suits me, and I'm perfectly fine with it, so... Yeah.
No, I think that's an excellent thing to pass on to people, and I support your column there of don't be afraid to be expressive, vocal at times. That's a very important skill to learn when you're young. No, I love that.
I think especially now, I think with all the stuff that's kind of happening in the world and everything, and it's kind of good to just try to like express yourself in any form, and don't feel like you need to like really just kind of stifle it and be like, hide it in a corner. Like find ways, music, whether it's painting, drawing, anything, right? Just to kind of express what you love, and don't be ashamed of what you love.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That is a beautiful message. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So number
Take that,
4.
Christian, and all your good answers.
Take that, Christian.
Boom.
Yeah. Well, I right now currently only plan to have people on one, for one go. So you've one-upped him out of the 2 interviews that I've done so far. You've crushed
fantastic.
his
Good.
answer. There you go. Yeah.
Very good.
Cool. So number 4, what's a question you would want to be asked, or something you wished people inquired about voiceover more often?
Ooh. So again, going back to what Christian said, I liked his answer about like, inquiring more about the journey of it. Because it's definitely not as easy as people think. Like the amount of times that I've brought it up in a conversation, and then someone's like, you know what? Like I have a great voice. Like I should do that too. And I'm thinking like, yeah, but with your voice, can you pretend that you're in a war? Can you pretend that you're someone's mother, or do this and that? There's so many facets to it. It's kind of like if I were to be like, hey, I can use a wrench, I should work on the next spaceship that goes to the moon.
Yeah.
Like I know how a wrench works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just kind of understanding that there's a lot more to it than just doing a funny voice or just being really good at doing an impression. Like you have to be able to take that impression and be like, okay, well, sure, you can do like a lot of people can do like a Christopher Walken, right? That was kind of like a thing that was happening. But can you do that character and maybe make it into something else that is not exactly Christopher Walken? Yeah, can you find like other dynamic facets other than just kind of repeating the same lines like over and over and over again?
That totally hits the nail on the head, and something that I wish I had kind of gotten to as a talking point with Christian on the first one. And
I
say this. Well, I say this to people all the time, and I've made a point because I do have voice acting friends who do voice match work. Like they are voice matches. I'm buddies with John Bailey, the Epic Voice guy.
Yeah, I know of him.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
freaking talented, that guy.
He's so incredibly talented at doing impressions, like, and he's made that his thing. But I always want to tell people voice acting will always be a form of acting.
Yes, acting
a lot of
first.
A lot of people can say one or two lines as a character because they've practiced that, but that's not what you're doing, and you're not just going in and doing the impressions of somebody else's thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, voice acting work is just using your own voice. 90% of the voice work you do is your own speaking voice.
And I think one of the things, I mean, I'll also tag this onto this as well, but like anybody that's getting into voiceover, like study cartoons, because there are trends. Like I would say the trend for us growing up, there was a lot of like cartoony cartoons. So you had like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Rhett and Stimpy, you know, a lot of like zany and dynamic, Ed, and Eddie, a lot of zany and dynamic character shows, whereas now a lot of it's kind of going more toward grounded voices and more natural voices. Not to say that there's no space for those crazy and zany voices anymore. There still are, but it has to kind of come from a more grounded place, like how you see shows like Rebels, like Young Justice, and even some kids shows as well that are just kind of basically just this. The acting has to come first.
Yeah.
Because when they get you into the room and you're recording with everybody else, you have to be able to deliver that line, hopefully correct the first time. If not, like, you know, the director goes back and they're like, okay, like, let's try it this way. And you should at least try to get it within like the second time and not doing it over and over and over again, because then it's wasting everybody else's time and, you know, it becomes anxiety ridden for yourself. So it's just kind of that acting ability has to come first.
Yeah, just to tag on there at the very end for this question. Yeah, not to say that obviously it's not impossible to do a voice acting career where you do voice matches and do impressions.
Oh, not at all. And honestly, I think that's great because you can,
amazing.
Yeah.
No, yeah. But acting 100% comes first.
And what's neat with, even if you are trying to say do an impression, that's where some new voices can come from too. Like you could do a voice and it could be just like the most failed Christopher Walken voice you've ever done, but that doesn't necessarily mean it can't be another character.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that I'm not saying, again, not kiboshing anything on voice matching or doing impressions, because impressions are fun. I do them all the time.
Same.
Yeah. So, but it's just a fun way you can create new voices. You can like test your own range. But yeah, it should not just be boiled down to, I can do a great Christopher Walken impression, therefore I should be able to do what a lot of these voice actors do on a regular basis. It's not that simple. Yeah.
Flexibility.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Question number 5. We're talking about Christopher Walken so much.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna generate our random number here, and we got question number 4.
Ooh.
Which will be our last question. So we ended with 4, and now we're ending with 4. All right. This is a great one to kind of tail off of that. This is kind of perfect.
Okay.
What is one of your personal favorite voices to do?
Oh, why?
could be from a show that you've already been on or a game that you've been in, or it could be a voice that you haven't been cast for yet that you just really are like, I love this voice. This is my thing. What's a personal favorite voice to do?
Mason, that's so hard.
I know.
Dang
I know.
it.
Kill your darlings. I know, it's like picking a favorite child. I understand. It's really difficult. If it helps you, I'll give my answer.
Yeah. Let me think over this.
So my favorite, one of my favorite voices to do, the voice of Tarantulas from Beast Wars. Beasties, if you grew up in Canada, it ain't freaking Beasties, it's Beast Wars, I tell you. But yeah, that's one of my favorite voices to do, and it's sort of the penultimate gravelly, sneaky character voice, and he's got such a great laugh. I think he's got a laugh that rivals, if not, I personally feel is better than the Joker's laugh, which is a pretty big claim.
Yeah, because the Joker's laugh's iconic, man. Hamill
it's very iconic.
made that iconic.
Yeah. I feel that, oh, and here I am, and this is what I sound like. Voice is one of my favorite ones to do. So yeah, what do you, I'm throwing it to you now. What's your answer? Come on.
Okay.
What do you got?
You know, I guess I gotta say I really enjoy playing Rugo in Gigantosaurus. So with Rugo, for those who are not familiar with the show, it's a really cute show, so please watch it. She's a Rugosidon, and those were basically like a prehistoric mammal back in the day. So for her voice,
basically I went really, really high, and she's kind of a little bit manic and loves food so much.
and I just, Yeah, she's super adorable. Hopefully I didn't peek. I tried to lean back a little bit there.
That's okay.
But she's just a ball full of energy, and every time I get to go into the room and play her, I never leave a session I never go into a session mad, but
Right.
I just get so excited. I'm like, yay, I get to play today. And so I would say that one's kind of will always have a special place in my heart. Because she's also my first regular recurring character in a prelay series.
Yeah,
so
and that will always hold a special place.
Yeah, so I think that's always gonna be there, and she's kind of fun to bust out every once in a while.
Yeah, I love the energy in that. That's I can definitely see you having fun with that.
Oh my gosh, it's the comedic stuff in with our first season, the stuff that the writers had. I just had so much fun because she's bouncing around. There's a lot of physical comedy,
Right.
Which I love. Again, I just played. They just paid me to play, and it was
Good.
fantastic.
Well, that was the last question. Thank you so much for coming and doing this. I really genuinely appreciate you coming and doing this. And something I realized that I didn't do the last time with the pilot with Christian, and I want to give you an opportunity to now. I know you've said it a couple times, but I want you to shout out anything that you are doing currently that you want people to check out.
Well, Gigantosaurus, like I said, you can watch it on Disney Junior. I think it's also on Knowledge Network as well. I think the first season will be available on Netflix. I'm not 100% sure on that, or if that's coming out or not.
Right.
But if you do see it, all the episodes have already run through now, so you can watch that on TV. But if I may, there's a couple things I do, and everything else I really can't say.
Which is fair.
It's like a secret agent.
Yep,
It's like a secret agent without the occupational hazard. But I definitely do want to take this opportunity because I know there's been a lot, 2020's been very interesting for all of us. And this whole week has been, very interesting and eye-opening.
Absolutely.
So if it's okay, I just kind of want to share a couple of things so people can kind of be more aware and educated.
Yeah.
So with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, it should be getting to everybody. It should have people really reflecting on what their privileges are. Even though I am a person of color, what I experience is literally a grain of sand, or maybe not even, compared to what the Black community faces on a regular basis. I can't imagine waking up every day, leaving my house, and thinking I might not even come home today. That, and that's something that should not enter someone's mind in an ideal world, but unfortunately that's one that we don't really live in at this time. So if you are looking to kind of get aware or help, if you can check out the blacklivesmatters.carrd.co. There, it's a really great resource to find some literature, to kind of read up on what you can do to be an ally, to help with this movement, sign some petitions, and again, just kind of educate yourself a little bit more, and also some links for donating. Also, I know a lot of people, especially with COVID, money can be tight, but there are other ways that you can donate. So Zoe Amira, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right. So Zoe, Z-O-E, and Amira, A-M-I-R-A. If you go on YouTube, she made an hour-long video that highlights a lot of Black artists and culture, and also making you more aware of the movement. Play the video and do not stop playing the ads, because all that ad revenue is going to go toward a bunch of organizations that are going to help the protesters that are being arrested, to help post their bail and other means as well. And if you're a local person here in Vancouver taking a listen, I'd also recommend following Amari Newton, who is a local actor and voice actor here in the Vancouver community. And on social media, he tweets a lot of really good literature about Black Lives Matter. So again, another way to kind of educate yourself. And he also talks a lot about, what's happening here in Canada. And it's a great way to kind of be educated within our own industry and how we can look in ourselves and just kind of help so we can be better. Because even though some of this stuff is happening in the States, it does happen in Canada here as well. It especially affects our Indigenous communities. Yeah, we just need to be better and try to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves or might not have a voice for themselves.
I think that was perfect. I think that was incredible. And what a message to give right at the end as we're recording on
Yeah.
Blackout Tuesday. No, I think that's perfect. And I can't add anything else. I think you said it really eloquently. The whole, we'll do what we can to empathize. We will never truly be able to understand because we're never going to be put in those shoes, and just to stand and support. I think that that's perfect. And thank you in particular for mentioning the video that has been put up online, and to turn off your ad block when watching it. Please turn off your ad block and watch it on repeat, because yes, those donations for that video are going to be sent out to the appropriate places that need them. There is no short supply currently of places that need donations.
Right? Like anything that you can do to help, there's always something that you can do. And I know you've been posting a lot of stuff on social media, which is fantastic. And just kind of keeping it like, let's not make it like I've been hearing on the news. Let's not make it a moment. Let's make it a movement, and let's try to get something done here, because enough is enough. And especially here when we're seeing a lot of these, I know a lot of it's kind of more towards COVID, these racial attacks against people in the Asian community. It's one thing to catch things on camera. I get it. Like you want proof of something. But also make sure that person is okay. I think when I was watching those videos where that man, he pushed an Asian girl, or that other gentleman who pushed the elderly Asian man out of a grocery store, I was kind of surprised that no one's initial response was, let's just help this person up. And a lot of people keep walking by. And again, I know we're not all Superman. We don't wear the S on our chest. And we might not feel that we can go up against someone that might be 6 foot something, and you don't know if they have a weapon on them, and you don't know, maybe they're on something and you're kind of scared for your own safety. But there are other ways, and just even kind of going to the side and being like, hey, like, are you okay? Is there anything that I can do for you? Is there anybody that you need to call? Because that's kind of a scary thing when all of a sudden you're enjoying your day, someone just kind of clocks you out of nowhere, and you're kind of like left like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah, make it a movement.
Yeah,
not a moment.
Exactly.
I love that. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mason. I really appreciate you reaching out, and this was fun, man.
Yeah, of course. And I look forward to seeing you and Christian and anybody else that ends up on the show whenever we all get the chance to do a proper in-person meeting again. But yeah,
soon. I'm hoping it's
soon.
At least here we're better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
There's still a lot of ways to go.
Yeah. But thanks to everyone listening. Really appreciate it. Go out, support, donate. And please, more now than ever, stay safe, as well as Happy Pride Month, everybody.
Yes, Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month!
Woo!
Alrighty. And we are off.